Hi, I'm Eric, and welcome back to Canada Casino, your guide to online gambling. Today, I'm going to be teaching you how to play 7-card stud, which is one of the most popular variations of poker. It's a card game that is generally more accessible than regular Texas Holdem, and it's a real banger to play with friends, family, or even at the casino. So, stick around and you'll learn exactly how it's played. Seven-card stud was invented in the mid to late 1800s during the American Civil War and used to be popular among military and navy. It actually used to be the most popular version of poker until Texas Holdem came along and took over in the 1980s. However, this doesn't mean this is an old and stagnant game. It's still the preferred game of choice for the older generation, and as poker players have become more saturated with Holdem and other community poker games, they have gravitated back to the game it all started with, 7-card stud. Today, you can find 7-card stud in practically every major casino, both land-based and online. It is a true thinker's game and is one of the most difficult forms of poker to learn and master. Now, let's jump right into the meat of the game. 7-card stud does not include any blinds. Instead, players have to pay an ante at the start of every new hand. Each player is dealt 2 cards face down and 1 card face up. There is a forced bet called the bring-in. The player with the worst up card at the start of each hand must post this compulsory bet. The 2 of clubs is deemed the worst possible card. Starting off at 3rd Street. Firstly, an ante is collected for each player, then the first 2 cards are dealt face down, then a 3rd card called 3rd Street is dealt face up. For this example, we have pre-dealt these cards. The bring-in is the first to act, and they must put in the minimum bet or complete, also known as call, to the lower limit stake. Action continues around the table with players being able to fold, complete, or raise. Note that the completion is not considered a raise. For example, in a $10-$20, the low card, or the bring-in, opens for $5. If the next player increases the bet to $15 or completes the bet, up to 3 raises are then allowable. Moving on to 4th Street. Another card is dealt face up to each active player. The table stakes are still set to the lower limit. Good news for the bring-in, first to act is no longer the player with the worst up card. The player with the best up cards now gets that honor. Action continues clockwise around the table with players being able to check, bet, call, or raise, which is capped at 4 times table stakes in a limit format. Or of course, they can fold depending on the prior action. Now 5th Street. On 5th Street, the minimum bet is raised to the upper table stakes limit. Time to start building that pot. This card is also dealt face up. Again, first to act is the player with the best up cards. Action continues around the table with players being able to check, bet, call, or raise, which is capped again at 4 times table stakes. Or of course, fold, depending on the previous action. Moving on to 6th Street. By the time 6th Street is dealt, each active player will have 4 up cards and 2 down cards, or in the hole. First to act is still the player with the best up cards. Players can check, bet, call, or raise, which again is capped at 4 times upper table limit, or of course, fold, depending on the prior action. But if you don't have the makings of a hand by now, we strongly suggest that you fold. Finally, 7th Street. During the 5th betting round, also known as the river, players can now check, bet, call, raise, or fold. Now it's time for the showdown, as long as 2 or more players remain. At this stage, the player with the best 5-card hand, according to the standard hand ranking system, will win the pot. Also, if there are more players available on the river than cards in the deck, a common or community card will be dealt face up in the center of the table for all active players in the hand to use. The player who is now high using the common cards starts the action in this last round. Even though 7-card stud features 7 cards dealt to each player by the river, at Showdown, only 5 cards on a player's individual board can be used to make the best 5-card hand. The hand rankings are exactly the same as in Texas Holdem, with the royal flush being the best possible hand and the high card being the worst. Note that suits don't count in stud poker hand ranking system, except for deciding the bring-in. Where clubs are the worst, diamonds are third, hearts are second best, and spades rank top. Now that we've went over the basics, we're gonna go over an example showdown where all the players at the table have already been dealt their 7-card hands. Now for this example, we're gonna show all 4 players' whole cards to have a better look at all the hands. As a reminder, when you're playing for real, you'll not be able to see the other player's whole cards because it's only visible to each person. So, starting off with my hand, I'll flip my cards, giving me an ace-jack. So I will get an ace-high flush. The player on my left, showing a 4 and a 2, not helping him very much, leaving him off with a pair of queens. The player to my right, flipping for a 2 and a 6, giving him a pair of 2s. And then finally, the last player in front of me with a 5 and a 6, giving him 2 pair of 9s and 5s. So with this hand, I'd end up taking the pot and win it all. And there you have it, our tutorial on 7-card stud. If something was unclear to you or you have any questions, make sure to drop them in the comments down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and definitely subscribe for more videos on different poker variations. This was Canada Casino, and I'll see you guys next time.